My sister, Mom's golden child, scheduled her wedding for the exact same day as mine. When I said it out loud at the dinner table, it sliced through the room like broken glass under pressure. My parents were the first to laugh like it was some clever little joke instead of what it really was. The candlelight shimmered in her hair like a spotlight. I didn't move, just kept tracing the rim of my water glass. "You're okay with that, right?" she asked, voice soft but sharp underneath. I gave a small nod. Of course. They took my quiet as a sign I'd given in. What none of them realized was that my guest list was already finalized, tucked neatly in my planner. 2 months later, we'd be sitting at that same table, but no one would be laughing. That was the day I saw how silence could become armor. I first learned that lesson when I was 8. Sienna stood proudly on the front steps, her dress glowing in the morning sun while Mom adjusted her hair for a local ad shoot. "Smile bigger, sweetheart," Mom cooed, her tone sweet and eyes full of pride. I stood behind them with my little lunchbox, packed all by myself, hoping someone would turn around and see me. They didn't. At school, I poured myself into my work. Good grades were my way of asking for space in a house where there wasn't much left for me. When I came home with a test marked 100, Dad didn't even lower his newspaper. "Don't make your sister feel bad," he muttered. His voice wasn't angry, just empty, but the words still stung. I carefully folded the test, made sure the red ink didn't smudge, and slid it into my drawer. That became my thing, folding away proof that I tried. Sienna? She was always the favorite. When she failed a class, Mom blamed the teacher. When I aced mine, it barely registered. On my 13th birthday, there were 2 names on the cake, mine and hers. "We thought it'd be fun to celebrate together," Mom said with a smile. Sienna blew out every candle before I got close. I clapped anyway, like I was supposed to, even though it stung. Dad worked long hours at some insurance office. He always came home smelling like printer ink and disappointment. I made myself useful cleaning dishes, checking bills, keeping things running quietly. He liked that. "You're reliable," he'd say. It never sounded like a compliment. It just sounded like duty. In high school, I had a crush on this guy from math class. I told Sienna once while I was braiding her hair. She just smiled at her reflection and went out with him the next week. When I cried, Mom rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic. He just likes pretty girls." That was the night I stopped telling anyone about the things that mattered to me. College? Not in the cards. "Sienna needs the tuition more," Dad said, like it was already decided. So I went straight to work, typing invoices in a gray little cubicle. Mr. Ellis, my old teacher, helped me apply. "You're sharp, Bonnie," he told me. "Don't let them shrink you." I thanked him. But shrinking felt safer. I moved out at 22. Got a 1-bedroom downtown, white walls, quiet halls, a ticking clock. My shelves were lined with color-coded files. Everything had a place. I liked it that way. I woke up early, made my coffee, and checked my planner. I always wrote things down by hand. I didn't trust memory. Twist too easily. Sienna still called sometimes, not to ask how I was doing but to show off. Her new car, her designer dress, her growing follower count. "She's doing so well," Mom beamed one day. "You could learn from her." I nodded like always. Silence kept things from turning ugly. But over time, that silence grew into something else, something sharper. I got good at waiting, watching, catching the little things others missed. Those folded test papers? They became neatly sorted receipts, files, proof. Tidy stacks of truth. That's when I realized silence wasn't just survival. It was strategy. And then one Tuesday night, the phone rang. Rain tapped lightly on the window as I updated the guest list in my planner. My phone lit up with Sienna's name. I almost let it ring out. "Hey," she chirped, her voice way too cheerful. "So funny thing, my wedding date just got locked in. It's the same day as yours." For a moment, the only sound was the ticking clock. "The same day." I repeated. "Yeah, but I figured yours is just a small thing, right? Just family." She let out this breezy little laugh. "Our relatives will be at mine, obviously. I mean, it just makes sense." The silence must have gone on longer than she expected, because she hesitated. "Bonnie, you're okay with that, right?" I stared at the dark circle I'd drawn around my date in the planner. The pen was still pressed down hard, bleeding ink into the paper. "Yes," I said finally. "I'm okay with it." When the call ended, I stayed in the dark for a while. The rain kept tapping the window. My reflection in the glass looked calm, maybe too calm, but my fingers had gone cold. Later that night, Mom called. "Your sister's venue is so much bigger," she said with a little laugh. "Everyone will be there. You can do yours nice and quiet. Maybe after hers wraps up." Dad's voice floated in from the background. "Be supportive, Bonnie. It's her big day." "Of course," I replied. The same two words again. After the call ended, I flipped open my planner. The two circles glowed under the soft light of my desk lamp, hers and mine, side by side. Next to mine, I wrote a single line. "Confirmed. Do not move." They'd call it a coincidence. Say I didn't mind. But I knew better. I'd been trained for years to stay small, stay quiet, stay in the background. Not this time. This time, I would stand right there under the same spotlight they always thought belonged only to her. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. The apartment was still gray quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like something is about to happen. My coffee steamed up the window, softening the outline of Chicago's skyline. I opened my planner and traced my finger over the word confirmed. The ink was dry and smooth, permanent. At exactly 8 a.m., I stepped into the office. I'd been with that company for 9 years, long enough to know how to get things done without drawing attention. While the others chatted about weekend plans, I opened the HR portal and started typing an internal memo. Invitation to the Carter-Reed wedding. Formal attendance requested. I didn't send it, just saved the draft. The cursor blinked at the bottom like a heartbeat. By noon, I was on the phone with the event coordinator. "Yes," I said. "We're keeping the date." She hesitated. "Are you sure?" "The other family." "I'm sure," I said, gently cutting her off. "But we'll need the grand ballroom instead." "Of course, Ms. Reed." That night, I told Liam about the call. He didn't say anything for a while. Then finally, "You're really not changing it?" "No," I said. He gave a single nod. I couldn't read his face, but his voice was steady. "Then we do it right. Guest list, lighting, sound, everything." I smiled just a little. Proper silence. The week that followed felt like a secret montage only I could see. Click, keyboard tapping as I finalized the HR email. Swipe, pen checking off each confirmed RSVP from execs and department heads. Print, envelopes sealed with gold wax stacked in neat rows. Check, payments cleared for the ballroom, the caterer, the live quartet. Every step was precise, calculated, cold but clean. That's when I realized silence wasn't emptiness. It was control. Midweek, Mom called again. "Your sister's reception is going to be beautiful," she said. "You'll come help set up, won't you?" I looked at the neat folder of invoices next to me. "I'll be busy that day," I told her. "Busy?" she echoed. "But it's her wedding." "Yes," I said, soft but clear. "It is." She didn't catch the shift in my voice. She never did. At night, I spread everything across the dining table. Seating charts, printed guest lists, the full ceremony timeline. Liam sat across from me, going over every detail. "You sure this isn't too much?" he asked one night. "Not enough," I replied. He gave me a slow smile full of pride. "Then let's make it perfect." A week later, we toured the venue together. The grand ballroom stretched out before us, wide and gleaming, chandeliers tossing shards of light like ice across the room. "It's elegant," I told the manager. "But keep it understated." "Yes, ma'am." I ran my fingers over the drapes, thick, soft ivory fabric. "No extra decorations," I added. "I want people to hear the quiet." The staff looked confused. Liam didn't. He got it. Each night, I recorded small details, final guest counts, seating arrangements for Mr. Carter, Liam's father, the company's CEO. I revised schedules, booked parking for senior execs, and brought in musicians from our company's charity gala rotation. And with every confirmed name I added to our list, Sienna's pool of guests shrank without me lifting a finger. She and her fiancé Noah had picked the same event complex, 2 halls on the same floor. She thought sharing the space would humiliate me, but when the final HR confirmation arrived, making attendance mandatory for all upper management, I read the email twice, then quietly archived it. One evening, I found a dusty old box tucked in my closet. Inside was a crumpled test paper, one I'd hidden years ago. A red 100 still glared through the creases. I unfolded it gently and laid it on the table. Beside it, I placed our wedding schedule, rows of names, confirmed RSVPs, receipts, approvals. Same shape, same order. Different meaning. Liam walked in and paused. "What's that?" he asked. "A reminder?" I nodded. "Yeah. Of what matters?" He glanced at the paper, then at me. "You're calm." "I learned from the best." "My family." "No," I said quietly. "From their mistakes." The night before the wedding, I barely slept. I pressed my dress, checked the planner one last time, and left it on the windowsill, where the first light of dawn would catch it. The city outside was hushed, traffic faint. I watched the sun rise, its glow turning the glass gold. At 7 a.m. my phone buzzed. "Mom again. Your sister's so nervous," she said. "She keeps asking if you're jealous." "I'm not," I told her. "Tell her not to worry. I won't get in her way." "You're such a good girl," she sighed with relief. I hung up before she could hear me whisper. "Not anymore." In the stillness that followed, it felt like the next day was breathing, just waiting to exhale. 2 weddings. 1 date. Same address. They thought it would break me. What they didn't realize was they'd given me a front row seat to their own silence. That morning, the air felt heavier than usual. Metallic. Charged like the hush before a storm. I arrived early, the hem of my dress brushing across the marble lobby floor. Staff rushed by with bouquets and trays of champagne. 2 signs at the entrance. Ballroom A, Reed Carter Wedding. Ballroom B, Sienna and Noah. Same day. Same building. 2 versions of reality. Our ceremony began at noon. Guests filtered in with quiet voices and polite laughter. I watched Mr. Carter take his seat near the front. His colleagues, Liam's friends, my co-workers followed. The room shimmered under the crystal lights. When the string quartet began to play, the music rippled through the floor like a heartbeat. Upstairs, a florist leaned toward a passing waiter and whispered, "Didn't a bunch of guests bail on the other wedding?" The waiter nodded. "Something about a company event." By the time we said our vows, the other hall was nearly empty. When I turned to Liam and said, "I do," the applause that followed was quiet but full. It didn't echo. It settled. It felt earned. Through the tall windows, I caught a glimpse of Sienna in the courtyard below. Her dress gleamed flawless. But her face had cracked. Noah was pacing beside her, phone glued to his ear. Half an hour later, just as our reception got underway, they walked in. I saw them before anyone else: Mom, Dad, Sienna, and Noah, stepping into the wrong room in all the wrong ways. Their expressions shifted instantly when they took in the crowd. Top-tier executives, press photographers, the entire Carter family aligned like stars in a perfect orbit. Sienna blinked, confused. "What? Why are all my guests here?" she whispered. Noah's voice broke. These are my company's clients. What are they doing here?" Mr. Carter stood up. He didn't raise his voice, but the weight of his presence filled the room. "Strange, isn't it?" he said. 2 weddings, same day. But only one of them is my son's." The microphone picked up his voice and carried it clean across the ballroom. Every guest heard it. A hush fell like a blanket. Mom's smile twitched. Dad tried to recover, words tripping over his lips. "We didn't know." "You didn't have to," Mr. Carter said, turning to them. His tone was even, unshaken. "Some people only recognize order when they're no longer included in it." Sienna grabbed for Noah's arm. "Say something." He stepped back instead, collar tight, eyes darting. "You told me this date would humiliate her," he said. Sienna's voice cracked. "You agreed." Their argument spilled out into the room like static interrupting a broadcast. Guests exchanged awkward glances. Cameras clicked. Light flashed. I didn't move. I stood still, hand on my glass, same posture I held at the dinner table where all of this had started. The chandelier's reflection shimmered across my drink. My planner sat closed beside the guest book, quiet, clean, complete. Then Mr. Carter spoke again, his voice gentler now. "Let's keep this day for the people who earned it." At his cue, the staff calmly, respectfully ushered them out. No drama. No yelling. Just a soft reset, like muting a room meant for music. The doors closed behind them. The quartet picked up a new melody, slow, steady, deliberate. The air warmed with applause. I lifted my glass. Not high, just enough to see the faint tremble of my reflection in the wine. Liam's hand found mine. "They're gone," he said softly. "I know." Across the hall, I heard the distant slam of another door. Probably from ballroom B. Maybe someone shouted. Then silence. The sound folded into the music, into quiet conversation and soft footsteps. "They came to watch me fall," I murmured. "Instead," Liam said with a small smile, "they saw what silence can build." "And destroy," I added. We clinked glasses once, not in triumph, but in quiet recognition of balance finally restored. The rest of the night flowed smooth and untroubled. No toasts, no chaos. Just gentle waves of clinking cutlery, laughter that belonged, and moments that felt exactly right. When it was over, I took one last look around. At the chandeliers, the guests, the shining floor where my reflection stood clear and whole. The silence they left behind? It was perfect. The morning after, the city looked freshly rinsed. The skyline glowed with soft gold light, the streets below still damp from rain. I stood in the kitchen barefoot, stirring sugar into my coffee. The spoon clicked gently against the mug, a quiet, steady rhythm. Liam was still asleep. Liam's steady breathing blended with the soft hum of the fridge. On the dining table, my planner sat closed, its pages slightly bent and worn from constant use. Beside it, our marriage certificate lay flat under the morning light. The seal shimmered faintly, the same shade of gold as the ink I'd used to circle our date all those months ago. For years, I'd folded parts of myself down small enough to tuck into drawers, grades, receipts, thoughts I never said out loud. Yesterday, for the first time, I unfolded every single one. No shouting, no scenes, just a quiet, unwavering line drawn through everything that used to sting. I thought about Sienna. Maybe she woke up to silence too. An empty inbox, a call that didn't get answered, the hollow sound of her own reflection looking back. Maybe our parents sat in their living room, still stunned, trying to make sense of the moment the applause stopped being for them. I didn't feel joy at the thought, just distance. The kettle began to whistle softly. I turned it off before it got too loud. Liam shuffled into the kitchen, hair messy, eyes barely open. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I replied. He leaned against the counter. "You good?" I nodded. "Yeah, finally." We didn't talk about the wedding. We didn't have to. It had already done its job, closed a chapter, opened a quieter one. After he left for work, the apartment settled into its usual rhythm. Calm. Unbothered. I cracked the window a bit. The air smelled like rain and warm bread from the bakery downstairs. Somewhere in the distance, a train passed through the city, its horn low and fading. I sat down at the table, opened my planner one last time, and drew a single clean line under the final entry. Reed Carter wedding. Completed. Then I closed it and laid it beside our certificate. The light shifted across both pages, blending them into one soft reflection. This kind of silence didn't mean something was missing. It meant something had finally been claimed. In families like mine, power doesn't shout. It disappears, and in doing so, leaves the room finally able to hear what silence truly sounds like. It isn't empty. It's earned. It's the sound of boundaries settling, of peace finally speaking at its own volume after years of being ignored. If this story stuck with you, stick around for the next one. Every silence carries a reckoning, and every reckoning begins with one quiet act of courage. Subscribe, keep listening, and let's explore how calm can become the loudest kind of justice. New stories drop every week, where revenge speaks softly,